Hello, Eric Walczykowski here, host of Tailored Talent, CEO of Bespoke Partners. Today, I am joined by Matt Sommi, our head of private equity partnerships. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Appreciate it.
Hey, Matt, so when we think about private equity partnerships, it's kind of a different role in the search industry. Talk to me a little bit about what you and your team does.
Yeah, of course. So when we functionally segmented as a practice into 5 different practice areas, a big thing for us was being able to provide uniformity at the sponsor level, where I think about a specific fund could potentially be working with 5 or 6 partners at Bespoke. I come in as that layer of uniformity, providing contextual relationship context to our partners to ensure that there's uniformity across every search, while the fund is getting the best positioned partner for that given need within their portfolio. And to date, it's been extremely successful for us. We'll be up 30% year over year in the amount of unique private equity firms engaged. And so I think it speaks volumes to what the team is doing, providing that through point and advocating on behalf of the fund within the walls of Bespoke.
Well, you mentioned the growth rates. I mean, it's fair to say our repeat business is 100+%. And so obviously it's working. So when I think about your team, I think about expertise in one private equity and the particular fund, but I also think about expertise in terms of talent and building leadership teams holistically, as opposed to what you alluded to. You know, we've got 5 different practice areas: P&L, go-to-market, financial officers, product and tech, and human resources. And your team is really the relationship with the fund and the architect of how the Bespoke team gets deployed, right?
Yeah, and so what's really cool is being able to engineer that total package to enable Bespoke to be a one-stop shop for a lot of these software investors. And not only has that served us well as a firm, it served the fund well. When we come in and we're able to do a bunch of work cross-functionally within a specific portfolio company, I think it speaks volumes to the value that we can add outside of any given specific mandate.
And whereas most firms in the industry, if I'm a partner, there's an incentive for me to say, yes, I can do that CFO search. And yes, I can do that product and tech search because I get compensated on that. Your team really is about what's best for the fund and that particular portfolio company and that particular project, right?
And I'm extremely transparent with the funds that we work with. Hey, I'm not comped on origination. I'm actually tied to the broader objectives of the firm. So my goal and my incentive is actually direct you to the best positioned resource for that work. You know, I'm not going to position myself as the end all be all for every single function within your portfolio. I'm going to direct you to the Caitlin Quaresmas of the world for finance. I'm going to direct you to the Catherine Bakers of the world for CEO and P&L leaders, because ultimately that creates a relationship of trust and partnership, which I think only benefits us in the long run.
No, fantastic. Well, and without leveraging any names, because we're very confidential about our clients, and give me an instance where a fund called you up and how did you serve their needs?
Sure. You know, I always position Bespoke as a partner in the market. And I preface what you just asked with this because I think it's so important, Eric. The relationship for us is more important than the transaction. And so a client recently came to me, and this was over the weekend, and said, Matt, we're sprinting at this deal. We want to spin up a CEO search. And I said, do you really want to spin up a CEO search, or do you really want to just get a better understanding of what's out in the market to help you build conviction while you're trying to underwrite this asset and bring it to IC? And he said, you know, most partners and search firms would have pushed me immediately to a search. All right, let's spin up a team. Let's get it going. Let's sign the contract. And instead, we took a very consultative tip of the spear approach. Hey, let's think about the market in its entirety. And is it worth going to a search at this stage in the process where you're at in the deal cycle? And so from my standpoint, where we benefit clients is, you know, of course, traditional search, we're best in class when it comes to PE-backed software assets. But outside of traditional search, our ability to be that consultative partner from a talent standpoint has been incrementally important to building these relationships for the long term.
No doubt. And, you know, I love the fact that you used a pre-deal example, because I think that really gets to our tech stack and our ability to have real-time insight into the market. So let's pull the thread further. This partner called you up and they said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and speak the search industry's language. We need a CEO search. And because your expertise is to understand the private equity firm, how private equity works, you heard LOI pre-deal and you thought right away, no, you don't have to speak my language. I'm going to speak your language. And what you really want is a real-time insight into a particular software subsector, a particular role, a particular scale. So how did you do that, Matt?
Yeah, so all the time, hey, we always get this question, who do you know? Who do you know? But it's never, what's the actual total addressable market for this role? And so what we did is we sat down in real time and I pulled up our tool, the Executive Index, and the client-facing version, the Calibrator. And I said, let's just align around some key components of the scorecard before we even start going deep on what is actually needed for the business. And so it was an EdTech platform in Southern California, and it was about $150 million in top line revenue and growing pretty nicely, 20% year over year, but a significant opportunity to up-level the team to initiate an intense value creation plan. And so I pulled it up and I said, okay, based on those core criteria, there are 5 people that are addressable today. And we don't even know actionability yet. And so then it became, a huge part of this thesis is to be able to bring in a leader that can help us underwrite the strategy for growth. And so I said, well, how wedded are you to the idea of Southern California? What about opening the geo? Not only can we index specific city, we can index around flight times. So how important is it to be in person 5 days a week? Oh, they only need to be in office twice a week? Great. What's a 2-hour flight from this specific city look like? And what does that do to the aperture of the candidate pool? And from our perspective, we're now in real-time calibration with the client. And so this gives them an opportunity to see, oh, wow, the addressable market, okay, geo, all of a sudden, Southern California didn't become that important to them. Scale became increasingly important. And then within EdTech, okay, I'm selling into organizations. And so, hey, can we get creative in tangential markets that are selling into these same buying personas with a similar sales motion, and then opening the aperture outside of EdTech specifically? So it was a really cool exercise in helping them understand, hey, this is the total addressable market for the key components of the scorecard. And here's how that changes when I can pull the levers on geo, domain, and potentially if they were open to a first timer as well.
So what's so cool about Calibrators is you can show the client real time the contraction of the number of candidates. And then as you release elements of the scorecard, how it expands. Mm-hmm. And what's really cool about that is you not only is it a number 5, you can actually show them real time the candidates as well, right?
And what's really cool about it is your ability to real time benchmark the individual in seat, right? Hey, we have this thesis that we want to make a change, but the reality is, does the market offer a better alternative than what you have? And I think to go a layer deeper on that, hey, this is a new asset for you as you're diligencing the commercial side of the business. How are you thinking about talent due diligence? And so with Calibrator and specifically our executive index, we can actually relationship map these executives. So I could click into that CEO and I could see at his prior 5 jobs or her prior 5 jobs, this is exactly who sat on the board. This is exactly who reported into them or they reported into. And so I can quickly build a relationship tree where then I can go see, hey, maybe I have something on file on this individual, or maybe I can get to these folks pretty quick to give you somewhat of an informed decision around, hey, is this the person that can see us through the next stage of growth?
No, that's really cool. And I'm glad you pointed that out. Well, you gave me this specific instance. Let's zoom back out. There's all this discussion about AI and AI changing search. You're in the market all day, every day. I mean, when I got here, I had this vision of, hey, we're going to index the entire market using AI and ML, and we're going to be able to tell our clients real-time information about the entire market that others can't. And we do it in this model of consume. So consume all the data. Let's create that data set of 676,000 plus executives and all the information about the executives and how they relate to each other. But then let's curate that in a way. And what we were just talking about is, well, how do you scorecard a role so that the right executives show up at the right time? And then render that in a way that folks can actually make decisions. Mm-hmm. Now, we believed in that. We built that. That's in the market. You're seeing this all day, every day. Is this different than what you're seeing our competitors bring to the landscape? How are our customers reacting to it? Matt, I'm just interested in your perspective, given it's market-based.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that really resonates is the data is only as useful as the person that's interpreting it. And when I think about Bespoke and our specialization from an end market standpoint, an asset class standpoint, and a functional standpoint, no one's coming with the same level of expertise and perspective that we are to these conversations. And where, Eric, I can show you a list of 15 names based on the criteria that you gave me. If I pull in a Peterson Lofton or a Tess Fisher or an Andrew Reynolds from our go-to-market practice, they can give you that prescription around that universe of executives. This is why they'll work. This is why they won't. This is who's addressable, and this is who we could run at today. And so what I'm hearing a lot of in the market are tools that improve workflows, but don't improve outcomes from a placement standpoint. And hey, oh, that's awesome. You've mapped 1 million different executives in North America. So what are you going to do with that data? And our ability to synthesize and provide unmet and unmatched perspective from a functional and market and industry standpoint is really what drives the value of the data that we're able to deliver to our end client.
No doubt. And it's been incredible to see the team embrace it. And I think you really talked about what I like to say is the mirroring of the data with the artistry, or the science and the art coming together. And in order to get the best outcome, we've got to have both. We can't just have one without the other. But I would say that there actually are some pretty good artists in the search industry, but they're not painting with the full color wheel per se. They don't have all the data at their fingertips. And what we did with the index is we took our artists who are as good as anybody in the industry, and we gave them all the data. And that then leads to outsized outcomes. And so, Matt, we talked about a pre-deal example where someone came to you and said, hey, I need to know the market for this particular ed tech executive, a CEO at a certain scale. Let's talk about a rank and file search. So we have this Calibrator tool, and I call you up and I say, hey, Matt, I've got a search for a CRO at a cybersecurity company. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. It's 150 million in revenue. How would Calibrator work in that situation?
So in real time, what we would do is we'd bring up Calibrator. I would show you exactly what I'm looking at, so you can validate what you're seeing in real life, what I'm telling you. And I think the beauty of this is I can put in the exact criteria that you just gave me, and we can come up with a bench of individuals that meet that specific criteria. I think where it's most important and most impactful from what I've seen from a search perspective is every firm is going to have experience within an end market, within a domain, within a region, right? And they could say, hey, I've done 3 searches here, and these are a bunch of names I can pull from immediately. Great. Are those the right names for your search? Are those all the names for your search? What happens when you exhaust those names and they're not interested? How do you think about expanding into adjacent markets and adjacent verticals? And so that's exactly what Calibrator allows us to do, is come up with this robust search strategy where it's bullseye, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. It allows us to get creative. So there is a consistent pipeline of qualified candidates on any given search. And I think I heard this data point the other day. Our time to ID when leveraging the executive index has been roughly 30 days. We are identifying the finalist candidate within the first 30 days of the search. Now, we're Bespoke Partners, we're best in class, we're closing searches within 90 days, but our ability to identify the finalist candidate within the first month of the search, I think speaks volume in the data that we're bringing at the front end of the process.
And what's amazing about that, because there are a lot of people that claim, hey, I identified the candidate, I went through this process. The identification of the candidate within 30 days contemplates the entire universe. It's not us identifying a candidate and then convincing you to hire the candidate. It's showing you everything in the market. So we come to the conclusion together that these are the best candidates for your particular role. And I think that's a huge distinction as we look at that. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. And, search is operating from the gut in a lot of scenarios, right? I've been at this for a decade plus. I know exactly who to call for this asset. The problem with that is talent is fluid and it's constantly changing, and it's a revolving door of people coming on and off the bench. So it's being able to have a time lens into the market of what does the addressable market look like for scope and profile that I'm going to solve for here? And then also having that partner that specializes within the function give you that perspective of why or why not that individual is a fit. So you have conviction when going to offer on an individual that this is the person that's helped me drive growth.
No, fantastic. And so it's fair to say that your team is pretty excited about Calibrator, the index, and how it's changing the game for your clients.
Oh my gosh, it's been a total game changer for us. And I think about the clients I showed this to in March when it was in beta, and how much the tool has evolved and learned since then. And what we are actually doing is, we're either providing the conviction that I need to go to search tomorrow, or, hey, maybe the person I have in seat is the right person for this next leg of the journey. And either way, it's an extremely valuable perspective to gain without going through a full town assessment, due diligence, or going full mandate through search. So we're super excited about what it's been able to offer our clients. And how we've been able to leverage it. And I think it's only going to continue to grow in the market. So more to come.
No, fantastic, Matt. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you being on the front lines with our clients. You're making a difference. You and your team make a difference every day. Very excited for more to come in the coming months.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, Eric.
Yep. Have a great day.
Thank you.